In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. As Muslims, we are taught that our bodies are an amana, or trust, from Allah, and maintaining good health is an essential aspect of our faith. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "There are two blessings which many people lose. They are health and free time for doing good." Sahih al-Bukhari. This hadith reminds us of the importance of preserving our health to fulfill our duties as Muslims. Breakfast, often called the most important meal of the day, can significantly impact our health, particularly our cardiovascular well-being. Recent scientific research has uncovered surprising truths about certain breakfast foods that many of us consume regularly, often believing them to be healthy or harmless. This article explores 7 shocking breakfast choices that, according to current studies, may increase our risk of stroke. As we delve into this topic, let us remember the Quranic verse, "Eat of the good things we have provided for you," 2:172, which encourages us to be mindful of our food choices. 1. Sugar-laden cereals, the sweet deception. Many breakfast cereals, even those marketed as healthy, contain excessive amounts of added sugars that can contribute to inflammation and increase stroke risk. A study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association in 2020 found that higher intake of added sugars was associated with an increased risk of ischemic stroke, particularly in women. Key concerns include rapid blood sugar spikes, promotion of chronic inflammation, and potential contribution to obesity and metabolic syndrome. While specific cereals aren't mentioned in Islamic texts, the principle of moderation applies. The Quran states, "Eat and drink, but be not excessive. Indeed, he likes not those who commit excess," 7:31. And here's a surprising fact. Some healthy cereals contain more sugar per serving than certain desserts, potentially increasing stroke risk more than traditionally unhealthy breakfast options. 2. Processed meats, the hidden sodium trap. Breakfast meats like bacon, sausages, and ham are often high in sodium and saturated fats, both of which are linked to increased stroke risk. A meta-analysis published in the journal Stroke in 2012 found that processed meat consumption was associated with a 24% increase in stroke risk. Key mechanisms include high sodium content, leading to hypertension, saturated fats contributing to atherosclerosis, and nitrates and nitrites potentially damaging blood vessels. While Islam permits the consumption of certain meats, it encourages moderation and quality. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, advised, "The son of Adam does not fill any vessel worse than his stomach," Tirmidhi. And here's a surprising discovery. Some studies suggest that the stroke risk associated with processed meats may be higher than that of red meat consumption. 3. Flavored yogurts, the Probiotic Paradox. While yogurt is often considered a healthy breakfast option, flavored varieties can contain high amounts of added sugars, potentially negating their probiotic benefits and increasing stroke risk. A study in the British Journal of Nutrition in 2017 found that while fermented dairy products may have protective effects against stroke, high sugar intake was associated with increased risk. Key concerns include hidden added sugars, potential disruption of gut microbiome balance, and possible contribution to insulin resistance. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, consumed milk and encouraged its consumption. However, the principle of avoiding excess applies to added sugars in modern dairy products. And here's a surprising fact. Some flavored yogurts contain more sugar per serving than ice cream, potentially increasing stroke risk more than traditionally indulgent breakfast choices. White bread and pastries, the refined carbohydrate risk. Refined carbohydrates, common in white bread and pastries, can lead to rapid blood sugar spikes and increased inflammation, potentially raising stroke risk. A study published in the Archives of Internal Medicine in 2010 found that women who consumed high amounts of refined carbohydrates had a higher risk of coronary heart disease and stroke. The key mechanisms include a rapid rise in blood sugar levels, promotion of chronic inflammation, and potential contribution to obesity and metabolic syndrome. While bread is a staple in many Muslim cultures, the Quran encourages us to choose wholesome foods. They ask you what is lawful for them. Say, lawful for you are all things good and pure, 5:4. Interestingly, some studies suggest that the glycemic impact of white bread can be similar to that of pure table sugar, potentially increasing stroke risk more rapidly than expected. High-fat coffee drinks, the caffeine conundrum. While moderate coffee consumption may have protective effects, high-fat sugary coffee drinks can contribute to increased stroke risk. A study in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology in 2021 found that high consumption of sugar-sweetened, high-fat coffee drinks was associated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease, including stroke. The key concerns include high calorie and sugar content, potential contribution to obesity and metabolic syndrome, and possible exacerbation of caffeine's effects on blood pressure. While coffee isn't specifically mentioned in Islamic texts, the principle of moderation applies. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "The best of all matters is the middle course," by Haki. Surprisingly, some specialty coffee drinks contain more calories and sugar than a full meal, potentially increasing stroke risk more than a traditional high-calorie breakfast. Fruit juices, the natural sugar overload. While whole fruits are beneficial, fruit juices can contain concentrated amounts of natural sugars without the fiber, potentially contributing to increased stroke risk. A study published in the journal Neurology in 2019 found that higher consumption of sugary beverages, including fruit juices, was associated with increased risk of stroke and dementia. The key mechanisms include rapid blood sugar spikes, lack of fiber to slow sugar absorption, and potential contribution to obesity and metabolic syndrome. While fruits are mentioned favorably in the Quran, the principle of moderation applies. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, encouraged eating whole fruits rather than extracted juices. Surprisingly, some fruit juices contain as much sugar per serving as soda, potentially increasing stroke risk more than traditionally vilified breakfast beverages. As we reflect on these shocking breakfast choices that may increase stroke risk, we are reminded of the Quranic verse. So eat of the lawful and good food which Allah has provided for you, and be grateful for the favor of Allah if it is He whom you worship. 16:114. This verse encourages us to be mindful of our food choices and to approach our meals with gratitude and consciousness. The scientific research revealing the potential risks associated with sugar-laden cereals, processed meats, flavored yogurts, refined carbohydrates, high-fat coffee drinks, fruit juices, and sodium-rich instant meals serves as a wake-up call to reassess our breakfast habits. Each of these food categories, often considered harmless or even healthy, presents hidden risks that can compromise our cardiovascular health over time. Key takeaways include choosing whole grain, low-sugar cereals, or opting for traditional unprocessed breakfast options, limiting processed meats and opting for leaner, less processed protein sources, selecting plain yogurt and adding fresh fruits for natural sweetness and fiber, choosing whole grain bread and limiting pastries to occasional treats, enjoying coffee in moderation, avoiding high-fat, sugary varieties, eating whole fruits instead of drinking fruit juices, and preparing breakfast meals from scratch when possible to control sodium and other additives. It's important to note that while these insights are based on scientific research, individual dietary needs may vary. Always consult with healthcare providers or registered dietitians for personalized advice, especially if you have existing health conditions.
Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, stay healthy and blessed. Wa alaikum assalam.